are at the Midwest Media Expo with the very famous singer Voltaire.
I don't know about very famous.
Well, you're quite famous in some circles.
I prefer minor local celebrity.
Minor local celebrity. All righty, sir. Anyhow, could you tell me a little bit about yourself? How did you become a musician?
Well, I'm a kid of the 80s, you know, I mean, I remember getting together with friends to see the premiere of MTV, the very first night that MTV launched. And I think any kid from that generation probably dreamed of being a rock star at some point, and I was no exception. But my true love was stop motion animation. I made stop motion films in my basement.
I was going to ask you about that, especially when you mentioned
MTV. Big fan of Ray Harryhausen. And so that was really where my focus was. So like in high school, you know, I had a little band and we played a few shows, but ultimately stop motion was really where my prime focus was. At 17, I ran away from home. I left New Jersey and I went to New York City. I needed to find a job, and I went to a studio where they were filming Pee-wee's Playhouse. And I showed them my stop motion films, and they hired me. So I became a professional stop motion animator. So for the next 20 years, while I was animating and directing, ironically, MTV station IDs and things like that, I toyed with the idea of being a musician, but I didn't play an instrument. I wrote songs, but I didn't play an instrument. So I always had to try to find collaborators to flesh out the songs. And you know how it is. You find people to collaborate with, and they either don't share your vision for what you want to make, or they're too busy smoking pot, or they don't show up to rehearsal, or they're not serious about it. So I went through many, many collaborators, and then finally one day I met this guitarist from Japan, this gentleman Kenji, and he just handed me an acoustic guitar, and he said, "Learn to play this. Buy a book of tabs of your favorite band and learn to play a few chords." And I did. I bought a Duran Duran songbook, and I didn't read music, but tabs show you where to put your fingers on the guitar. So I learned 4 or 5 chords within 2 weeks, and I played my very first show 3 months later.
Oh, wow.
I was 28 years old. And what I was doing at the time was very unusual, because I was playing in goth clubs, but you weren't allowed to even smile in a goth club back then. People took the goth thing very seriously. And my songs are humorous. There's a lot of, black humor, and they're gallows humor, I guess, as people say. And so it was novel. It was really novel that this guy was making sort of gothic sort of music, troubadour, murder ballad type stuff, but was tongue-in-cheek and funny. And it took off very quickly. I got signed to a label within like a year or two, and that was 20 years ago.
Awesome.
Still doing it.
Very cool. So stop motion photography, filmmakers. I know you've been out at Street Fest in Denise Gossett's place. And what do you have going now? I know you've recently, last year you had just written a book about the New Jersey Devil?
The Jersey Devil, yes. Call of the Jersey Devil.
And now you've got another book out, am I not mistaken?
I do. It's The Legend of Candy Claus.
Candy Claus.
It's a children's book. It is beautifully illustrated by this incredible illustrator out of Singapore named Shamin King. And it's a rhyming tale. It tells the story of a giant ferocious gargoyle bat that snatches candy from bullies on Halloween and delivers it to good little boys and girls on Christmas. It's atrocious.
I'm going to have to look at that.
But it's truly a children's story. But I think it's very, very rooted in classic Disney, in that it's a children's story, but the villains are very frightening and people die. I mean, there's tragedy in there, and I think it's one of the things that I think we've really lost, in modern day storytelling for kids, is that, all of the power has been kind of sucked out of these tales because the villains are not that threatening, and nobody's really ever in danger. So this is really kind of like an homage to early Disney.
And they all cooperate at the end.
Exactly. Not everybody makes it to the end of this story.
The Wicked Witch doesn't get stuck in the oven, they become friends.
Right, exactly.
Just misunderstood.
Yeah.
And you mentioned last night you've got another book coming out.
That's right. That's right. Now this is the polar opposite of Legend of
Exactly.
Candy Claus. This is called 50 Shades of Greys.
Yes.
And it's a parody of 50 Shades of Grey, and it's those gray aliens, like big-headed white aliens with the big
Right.
black eyes. And the premise is that aliens come to our world, they read 50 Shades of Grey, they become confused
Oh,
or
no.
inspired, and they decide that they need to try out all of these sexually
Oh, no.
subversive acts themselves. So it's each page is an illustration with a caption that sort of references a sci-fi show. So to give you an example, the flogging page is an alien dressed in a Starfleet uniform flogging a female alien who's in the transporter, and the caption is "Beat me up, Scotty."
Ouch.
Yeah. The scatology page is a female alien bent over spraying a male alien with liquid feces. Yeah. And the caption is "Close Encounters of the Turd Kind."
Oh no.
Yeah. 50 pages of this.
Painful humor.
It's really
When it
It's
comes to
not
black and white, that does fill in the gray areas
not
quite well.
for everyone. It's not for everyone. You must be a fan of sci-fi. You must love puns, parody, and perversion in spades.
So if you're one of the ones who wears a T-shirt that says "Talk nerdy to me,"
Then you
it's
might
your
you
kind
might
of
like
thing.
this. You might like this.
Now, I like to close my interviews with inviting my interviewee to answer a weird question, which is basically, tell me something weird and wonderful about yourself that your fans might not know about.
Weird. What's weird about me?
Not really much.
No, there's plenty of weird things about me. I'm just trying to think, because I don't think any of them are weird, but I'm sure they'd be weird to other people. I feel like I have. All right. I'm 48 years old. I've been on this planet a good long while, but not half as long as other people, right?
Right.
But I feel like I'm suffering from this thing called vampire delirium. Vampire delirium is when a vampire's been alive for so long.
Right.
They have done everything that could be done. They have seen everything that can be seen. That just like in order to cope with reality, you just have to be completely ridiculous at all times.
There's nothing left that's unusual for you.
Right. So I feel like a lot of what comes out of my mouth is just really. When I'm having conversations with people, I will very often say the most ridiculous thing I can think of saying, just because I've said everything else that could possibly have been said in the past. I also, in the same vein, vampire delirium, I also am a fan of strange smells because I've already smelled all the nice smells. So like I'm really curious about smells that people would think of as unusual or bad, or like something that smells bad. Like I'm really curious about bad smells. I feel the same way about food. I will pretty much put anything into my mouth, and the more horrible it tastes, the more interesting it is to me. So one of my favorite foods is Indian mixed pickle. If you've never tried it, you have to try it. It tastes like battery acid, and I can't get enough of it. You'll never put anything weirder in your mouth. Indian
Really?
mixed pickle, yeah.
India mixed pickle.
It's like mango pickle or lime pickle. It tastes like battery acid. It's amazing.
How often have you tasted battery acid?
I've almost never tasted battery acid. I do have a friend who is addicted to drinking brake fluid.
Really?
Yeah, but he says he's not addicted. He says he can stop at any time. It's an old joke, folks. I stole that one.
And I was seriously thinking this was a... for my clothes, is it okay if I move over there and do my closing?
Of course.
Next to you?
Yeah.
So rare that I actually get to be on the camera when I don't have an assistant. But from the from Midwest Media Expo in Detroit, Michigan, with Voltaire, this has been The Weird Review. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You're awesome.
Thanks for watching.
And would you be willing to do